Here come the big rig kids, y'all. Are you ready? Let's go. Here come the big rig kids. Roll with the big rig kids. Let's have fire the truck, take you to such amazing places with the big rig kids. Those helpful big rig kids.
Welcome and thank you, Facebook Live, for joining us tonight. We have a very exciting show for you this evening and a wonderful guest, Dr. Dwayne Alleyne. He currently is a clinical associate professor at the University of South Carolina College of Nursing. He's certified as an acute care nurse practitioner. He works as a hospitalist at Prisma Health Richland. He's been a hospitalist for over 12 years. He's a doctor of nursing, practice degree from the University of South Carolina. He also has a health ministry informing the people about how to be healthy. That's awesome. And he also serves on the advisory board for the National Organization of DNPs of Color. And he's the co-founder and executive director of Capital Nurse Practitioner Group in Columbia, South Carolina. But before we introduce him, I want to bring in someone that you all know and love, the greatest grandma in the world, Grandma Polly.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. We're happy to be back after 2 weeks, and happy Thursday. This afternoon, we have Dr. Dwayne Alleyne, who's going to be speaking to us about the health of our African American men in our community. Let's welcome him. And my first thing I want to ask is, we know with COVID, within this last year, 13 months or so, a lot of people have been staying away from the emergency rooms and the hospitals for other things that they would go and see the doctor for out of fear of going into these places because of COVID. So could you tell us what are some of your concerns about the overall health regarding African American males?
Yeah, so there's a lot of concerns, and you mentioned COVID, and that's a good thing. So one of the things about COVID is that people stay home, and not only they stay home and eat, lay around. A lot of people stop exercising. So you heard of the COVID-15. So that's a major concern, and that was one of the biggest concerns since I worked in the hospital, that because the hospital limited people that can come. So people assume that, hey, I'm not going to go to the hospital because they won't allow me to. One of the things that help keep a regular community, whether you're African American or not, that keeps the community healthy is regular checkups. Because not all diseases are symptomatic. What I mean is, you may have high blood pressure, but you may not know until somebody checks it. You may have high cholesterol, but you don't have any symptoms. There's nothing that really tells you that you have high cholesterol. So only way to confirm that or track that or maintain it is to do regular checkups. So that is very concerning due to COVID, that people were not following up with their regular checkups, because a lot of diseases such as heart disease are preventable. Diabetes is preventable or treatable if treated early. However, if you just let it linger for a while, you end up with secondary conditions that could have been prevented if you just have a checkup. For example, I'll use myself as an example. I went to the doctor just for a regular checkup, and they discovered that I had higher than normal creatinine level, which is a kidney level that tells me how good my kidneys function. So I went to get that checked out, and fortunately everything checked out good. But if I sat there and sat on it, it could have been something serious. Also, due to a routine checkup, I had my cholesterol levels checked. It turns out my cholesterol was abnormally high, and I have something called familial hypercholesterolism, which means I have inherited high cholesterol. So even with a healthy diet and watching what I eat and exercise, my cholesterol is still elevated, so I have to take medicine. So if I did not just routinely, I didn't have any symptoms. I never felt the cholesterol building up in my body. I just happened to do a routine checkup, and now I'm on medicine I have to take. And even though I eat healthy and work out, I have to take it. That was just because of routine checkups. So It's very important for routine checkups, and that's why my concern is about that. Other concerns is that many African American males they find out diagnosis when they present to the hospital. A good example I'll give is diabetes. Many times I have people present to the hospital really sick, and the first time they ever heard that they have diabetes is when they come in with a blood sugar of over 700, and they don't come in until they find out they're very thirsty, they have to urinate a lot, and they're very dizzy. And they find out they have a condition called diabetic ketoacidosis, and that's a disease when that's kind of the worst manifestation of diabetes is when your blood sugar gets so high, your body tries to do all this stuff to get rid of it and ends up causing harm to your body. So I see a lot of black males present to the ER or the hospital when they have the worst case scenario of diabetes. And meanwhile, it could be they can be sitting with that blood sugar for several months, and what they don't know is that blood sugar is causing damage to your kidneys, causing damage to your blood vessels. It causes cholesterol to build up all over your body and leads you to other disorders such as stroke or heart attack. So people sitting around waiting until something happens is a big concern. And all those things can be resolved with regular checkups. Even though you feel fine, um, this could be resolved with a regular checkup. So that's my concern.
I hear you.
Hmm.
And this is something that's really big in our community. When it comes down to my family itself, there's a lot of diabetes in the family. And even with that, we still have some male members. They know that that problem exists. Like you said, you inherited the cholesterol problem.
Hmm.
So a lot of times it's in our families, but because, like you said, we feel fine. But because we feel fine, a lot of times we think, well, that's an old person's disease, or they're up in age, so now it's time for this stuff to start happening to them.
Hmm.
But then diabetes and stuff like this can happen to our children too.
Hmm.
And I think it's important that even when our kids are young, we know a lot of times they have to go to like dental appointments, or they have to go in and get those age or time scheduled vaccinations that they need. But I think it's important that we teach our children also. We have to bring them into, it's not just when it's necessary to go. Get that yearly physical. And the next thing that I want to ask you, you touched on a lot, but what advice would you give African American males to promote a healthy community?
Okay, so one of the first things is know your family history. So know your family history. So if your family has a history of heart disease, diabetes, stroke, guess what? You're at risk. So don't take it lightly. So given that fact alone, if your mama, your daddy, your uncle had a heart attack, guess what? You need to be checked at least on an annual basis. One of the things
Hmm.
that we tend to feel this because we're young, we're not prone to disease. I always recommend males, especially in their 30s. Soon as I was a little more proactive. I started seeing the doctor on a regular basis in my 20s. As soon as I got insurance. But if you're in your late 20s, early 30s, get that annual physical. I don't care if you can do backflips, you're dunking on everyone in the court, you're still at risk for heart disease. So get that annual checkup. Know your family history. If you have if you do have problems like early signs, like especially if you have early signs of diabetes, there's something called pre-diabetes. Make
Hmm.
sure you follow up more regularly. So, for instance, if I see you in the office and I say, "Hey, you got pre-diabetes," you should see me at least every 3 to 6 months. Let's just don't go by that annual time. If you have borderline elevated cholesterol, come see me in another 3 to 6 months, because I may not treat you then, but if I see you in another 6 months, your cholesterol may increase. Also, promote exercise. One thing is exercise, and exercise is not like getting up and walking to the mailbox every once in a while. I'm talking about real exercise that gets your heart pumping, gets you sweating, and long as and keep and kind of your limits, as long as it's within reason. I'm not saying go out there and run a marathon, but keep a regular schedule exercise. And you just people seeing you, your family seeing you exercise, they may be inspired by you and want to exercise as well. Also, one of the things you need to do is healthy diet. Promote a healthy diet. 'Cause I know we as African Americans, especially on Sundays, we go to Mama's house or Auntie's house, had that fried chicken and the green beans and collard greens doused in sugar and all that stuff. So that stuff is good eating, but it's not good eating. So I know I'm not saying eat lettuce and drink water all the time, but diet plays a big part in disease manifestations. You have to be aware of how much you take, especially when it comes to carbohydrates and fat intake. So be aware of the diets that you take in and promote. Because a lot of times in the African American community, we promote good eating, and when it's not necessarily good eating, we have to be aware that the food that we eat. I know you heard the term "you are what you eat." You are what you
Yeah.
eat. So if you bad, you become bad. You get, and then don't use weight as just a manifestation of health. So I've seen unhealthy skinny people. I've seen unhealthy overweight people. So weight is just a one aspect. But just because someone's skinny doesn't mean they're at risk for heart attacks or have high cholesterol or risk for diabetes. So biggest factor that can change everything is paying attention to your diet. If you need help, go to a dietitian, get some books, um, go to a nutritionist, something like that to kind of make sure you adjust your diet, especially if you at risk for diabetes or stroke, or especially if it runs in the family. You do have to definitely pay attention to that. Um, so those are my suggestions to help. With the males are looked at as leaders, and you need to lead by example. And sometimes someone won't pay attention until you make the move and try to encourage others.
That is true. We have a viewer now named
Mhm.
Julia. I'm going to post her question for you. Maybe you can give her some insight for that.
Okay.
She said, is diabetes more prevalent because of genetics or lifestyle?
Oh, lifestyle. So
Definitely.
genetics is a factor, and that's when there's two different type of diabetes. You have type 1 and type 2.
Okay.
But what's prominent in the African American community is type 2. Type 2, like one thing about diabetes, is very you can moderate it. It's something that can be changed or improved. However, diabetes builds up due to years and years of poor eating. And like I said, you eat what your mama gives you, you see what your parents eat, you see what your brothers and sisters eat. So a lot of times you have a diabetic mother or diabetic father, likely the kids become diabetic because they kind of just mimic what they eat. They think it's normal.
Gotcha.
So you really have to pay attention. So there is a genetic component of diabetes, and that's usually due to the pancreas not producing insulin and stuff like that at all. But there's a majority of people have type 2 diabetes, and those are the people that develop it late. And they find out after years of eating bad, oh, I have that, my blood sugar is through the roof. So yeah,
Gotcha.
majority is due to lifestyle. And then that's why if I have patients that lost a bunch of weight, changed their diet, and they actually became very sick because they were on medicine that were dropping their blood sugar so low because they didn't need it anymore. So,
Oh, okay. Wow.
so
Okay.
So,
diabetes is one of
Oh,
the few diseases that you can reverse by proper, unless it's genetic. Yeah,
so you
okay.
can get off medication if you have diabetes.
yeah, you can get it if you through a healthy diet and make sure you watch what you eat, especially carbohydrates. You
Okay.
can. I've seen people not needing medicines anymore.
That's good. That's a good thing to know.
Okay. I want to go back to something you said before we went to that last question.
Hmm.
when you said that you started going to the doctor on a regular basis in your 20s once after you
Hmm.
got insurance.
Hmm.
And there's a two-part. Well, yeah, let's deal with that one first. After you got insurance. So the socioeconomic, how much does socioeconomics play a part in our health as a whole? You know, when you speak about the healthy eatings and just that alone, yeah, the exercise, it doesn't cost anything to go out and do. And I know it's more expensive to get sick than to use the preventative measures. But when you think about the grocery stores and where we shop and what we can afford, and a lot of our communities, they don't have the fresh vegetables and all the stuff that you would recommend as a doctor or just us in life that we really need. I remember a situation not too long ago. I was visiting a family member and she had bought this meat, which was turkey wings from this grocery store. And when she opened it up, it looked real good on the top. But in the bottom of it, it had a lot of bruised blood and stuff in the wings. And she took it back. But what part does the socioeconomic part plays in our health?
So that's a great question. And I actually did projects, wrote papers on socioeconomic status. Is one of the things when you talk about food is I'm not sure if you ever heard of the term food deserts. Food
Mm-hmm.
deserts is and for those that maybe listen never heard that term. Food deserts are places in certain communities that don't have healthy food, so they call them food deserts.
Hmm.
Um, and I'll use Atlanta as an example, and I never really realized that was an issue until I started paying attention. Because a lot of people that live in those communities don't know. They
Mm-hmm.
think go to the store and they think I'll just buy them whatever is available. So yeah, I don't have access. They don't realize. A lot of people don't realize they live in food deserts. Don't realize they don't have access to actually healthy food. Um, the thing about us, we in general we like quick and easy, fast, so we just jump to whatever the nearest store and grab whatever. But unfortunately, to stay
Mm-hmm.
healthy, you have to really pay attention. So this thing called food deserts means mostly fast food. And I'll use Atlanta as an example because I remember when a lot of my family lives in Atlanta. I used to visit my cousin a lot there. I remember I was trying to look for a healthy place to eat, and there's nothing but fast food for miles all around. The only way I can get something healthy or go to a restaurant that served healthy food was traveling to the expensive part of Atlanta, like and stuff like that. So there's a lot of communities, and these companies know that, and I kind of think they feel like we don't know better. They purposely plant stores um, that don't have that serves cheap food, fast and easy. That's unhealthy because they'll know we'll just go and get whatever we want. So socioeconomic status does impact us greatly because we don't have access to the fine foods or we don't even know about it. We don't. The first thing is we're not even educated about it. We think because I get questions. I can tell you questions I get asked. Is this healthy? I'm looking like no, you should know this is not healthy. But then you don't know because this is what you're used to. So there's a lot of places with like you see. I'll give you an example. Chinese stores. Every poor African American neighborhood have stores, Chinese stores that serve these unhealthy wings that are fried in all these oils. So that's every poor African American neighbor you see one pop up because they know they'll get a lot of business. A lot of fast food stores, dollar stores that don't serve anything worth the while to eat healthy. There's a lot of very few fresh food markets around. So socioeconomic status does really impact us. Also, lack of resources because there's resources that can teach you these things and what to look for. However, they don't for some reason they don't reach the poor African American communities. They don't get access to it. So that's why what I do is that's why I like to do these talks like these. Also, I do health fairs and have people from the community come to me and I kind of teach them. So certain hospitals, like my hospital, has done outreach programs as well to help reach target certain communities to teach them about proper eating, how they can access health. Because there's actually a lot of resources out there, especially for those that don't have insurance, for them to get regular checkups, get access to certain resources. They know who to call to get free health care, or they can have minimal payment where they pay $25 a month where they can see a doctor on a regular basis and get basic lab workups. There's a lot of resources out there, but the problem is it doesn't get to them. So yes, I 100% agree that socioeconomic status does impact the African American community. So
Wow.
It does. I'm going to talk to you some more about that one.
mhm,
Because right now I'm working on the fourth book, and in the third book and the fourth book, I do talk about the kids getting together and growing a garden and
mhm,
that stuff. And since I moved to Atlanta, I would like to get with a couple of kids where we could actually grow a garden box or whatever, because I feel like those are some of the things that's missing from my community. And what I realized, if I'm wrong, correct me, but what I realized when you go into the grocery store, if you notice the outside, the surrounding outside of the aisles is where your most of your healthy stuff is, because you start with
mhm,
your vegetables, your fruits, your produce over here, and by the time you get to the other side, you have your dairy and all that other stuff. But when you go down these aisles, all of the majority of the stuff is processed food and is high in sodium.
mhm,
And I think it's taken an effect. I know that it's taken an effect on our bodies when we sit down, when that's all we eat. And like you said,
mhm,
the cheaper grocery stores, you go in where they're offering all this high sodium stuff at a lower price, but the stuff that's really healthy for you, most people can't afford it.
mhm. Yeah. And the biggest misconception is I always hear, well, I can't afford to eat healthy, but you can't afford to be sick as well. So if you look at stuff in the long run, yeah, food is cheaper, but in the long run, you end up making up that cost by paying for medicine. So yeah, so you can say you can eat healthy, that cheap, healthy, unhealthy food, but when you end up paying $1,000 a month in diabetes pills or cholesterol pills or heart medicine, turns out it's actually cheaper for you to eat healthy in the long run. In the short run, yeah, it's cheaper. And then when you have to go to the doctor and pay a $250 deductible each time, and you have to see the doctor every 3 months, because I kind of taken aback. I go to the doctor on a regular basis. I see a cardiologist because my cholesterol is high. I see a kidney doctor, um, and the bill was exorbitant. And I actually had some chest pain about a couple of months ago and ended up having a cardiac cath. That bill was $10,000. I imagine people doing it on a
Yeah.
regular basis, and they're really sick. So yes, eating healthy is expensive, but it's much cheaper than having to spend a lifetime of taking a bunch of pills, going through different procedures, getting lab drawn, and then if you get sick, hospital stay. So yes, in the long run, it's better to eat healthy and spend the extra few dollars on that healthy stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And you said, the medication, but in the case of diabetes, the effects that it does to the body, where you end up going into dialysis or losing a limb or something like that. So it costs us more along that line. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Hmm.
Kenny,
Yeah.
you got any questions before I go into the next one?
Oh man, I have a ton of questions, but I'm taking it in. I'm taking it in. There's uh, Michelle Greatbolt noticed predominantly in the black communities. Here, let me let you guys see it. Just do this to the broadcast about the different foods and things like that and different communities.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
that is
and that's
like,
because yeah, that's what attracts us. Was we like the fast? So they, like I said, there's actually people that specifically market. Because if you look in the African American communities or poorer communities, you'll see Dollar Tree, a Chinese store in the corner,
you know,
a liquor store.
liquor store.
So,
Yep.
so it's the same framework in each poor, especially in the poor African. Like I said, I had to do a assignment in when I became a nurse, and we had to scope neighborhoods and write specific features of the neighborhood. So I never really paid attention. I said, wow, each black neighborhood has the same exact framework with the Chinese store, the liquor store, the cheap grocery store. So they do it on purpose because they know we'll go there. So that's where we have to be more, gain more knowledge and encourage one another through forums like this one to say, hey, you don't have to settle for this. Don't patronize these stores. Kind of demand fresh groceries. Yeah, like as a person stated, yeah, is more likely in the white neighborhood, but the white people will more likely go to the stores versus the African Americans may say that's too expensive. I'm not going to the store, so it won't be profitable for that business to plant a store like that in the African American community because they won't go to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I,
we have to make an effort and demand and show up more often and show more concern over health and go there.
and we really have to start doing it ourselves, man,
Hmm.
because nobody is really gonna look out for our interests like like they're looking out for their own interests.
Hmm.
They come in the community and get the dollars, get the money, and send it back to wherever they are. And that consciousness is what we need to be raised to step into that consciousness. I mean, it's all tied together. The dollar, like on we just had the memorial of the Black Wall Street in Tulsa,
Hmm.
Oklahoma,
Yeah.
where that their dollar changed hands 17 or 18 times before it left out of the community,
Hmm.
and that kind of thing, I think, is paramount to even start getting on that being healthy about everything,
Hmm.
financial health, physical health, and mental health as
Hmm.
a whole.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. And I said that when I say we can't afford, and I'm speaking about us as a whole. Because if it's something I want, I'm gonna buy it. And I
Hmm.
think that's our mindset. This may cost too much over here, and we may cut back on the food. When it comes down to pricing.
Hmm.
And I'm not here to judge anybody, but I will go out and pay what I want for some designer's name brand
some
to walk
Nike
around
sneakers.
with.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Jordans.
I feel like our health is more important.
Agreed. It's just a shift in consciousness that has to take place, and until that happens, it's going to be more of the same stuff. I mean, it's a deep rooted mindset that's been trickled down generation from generation. I mean, and we can go all the way back. I believe this is just my personal belief to a lot of the things that the slaves they had to eat to have energy that weren't really good for them. Back in the day, and that became now chitlins and stuff like that are delicatessen, but it's
Leave my
not
Hmm.
good
children
for us.
alone.
Nope, it's not good for us.
I know it's not. I only do it once a year.
That's not good. So yeah.
It's not
I
good.
know it's not, but I do it. I only do it once a year. But you're right. I remember growing up in my those used to work for the white guy that lived down the street, and they would kill the hog, but when they brought the remains over, all it was chitlins and pig feet. And models, they would clean that stuff up, and we would.
Eat it.
I didn't eat it then. I didn't start eating chitlins until I was grown because I didn't like
The smell.
the way we had to clean it. But you're right. It's a way that we grew up. It's like I heard Dwayne talk about collard greens. I don't think you were saying that we can't have collard greens. I
No,
think
I
you're
was saying
saying it's the
sugar,
way we
adding
prepare
sugar.
collard greens.
I was saying adding sugar to the collard greens defeats the purpose.
Adding
Yeah,
sugar, ham
all
hocks.
the fat,
Yeah.
all the fat meat.
Hmm. That is defeats
The
the
stuff
purpose.
that we put in it for flavoring.
Hmm.
So I think it's not a lot of time. Now, some of it is the food, but then some of it is the way we prepare the food.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't care if you prepare it right either. This is my big argument. We eat
Hmm.
with our eyes and not in portion. A
Yeah.
lot of times
And
we
then
overeat.
and yeah, this has to be taught. They're aware, because like I said, a lot of people, majority of people are not aware of their diets. A lot of people tell me, especially if they're overweight, they tell me I don't eat that much. I just and I watch if I watch them eat, and I said, wow, you do eat a lot. And actually, I can talk about myself because I lost like 3, 4, 5 years ago. I lost 50 pounds. I gained a bunch of weight when I was working night shift. I was eating whatever,
Oh
and
wow.
I gained about 50 pounds, and I didn't realize it until I saw a picture of myself. And one of the things I realized is
Ain't that the worst?
I started tracking what I ate, and I thought I ate healthy. I said, yeah, I don't eat that much, and I started actually tracking. I was eating 1,000 calories off the over the recommended
Daily allowance.
daily allowance based on my weight. So people don't realize they eat. They may say, I only eat a bowl of cereal, but even a bowl of cereal, you just sit there and pour cereal into a bowl. But actually, you're pouring 5 servings, actually, because you're only supposed to do a cup of cereal. And you
According,
just put
yeah,
the whole cereal and people eat it. So
not
people
the
eat a
whole
whole plate of
box.
food. They'll eat a 10-inch plate of food when you're only supposed to eat about 6 inches of wheat. So people don't realize that they'll think that they're doing fine. But if you actually pay attention, calculate the calories, calculate the fat, you'll be like, wow, I'm overeating.
Yeah,
So that has to be taught because some people just will eat. And we're social beings, so eating is part of our social activity, especially in African American communities. When we have a big family dinner, we have all the food laid out. We have to be conscious of because and make sure it doesn't and we feel it may interfere with our fun, but it's more interfering with your fun when you're in the hospital. It can't do these things. So we have
right.
to teach these people to be conscious of what they eat and understand the consequences of continuing a unhealthy lifestyle for a long period of time.
Right. We have another
Yeah.
comment that I think it's paramount. It trickles into what we're talking about right now. If people could see what their doctor bills could look like before the diagnosis, or if people really knew what it felt like to feel good in a healthy way without being diagnosed.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a shift in the consciousness right there.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah, people need to see. Yeah, the doctor's bills. Like I said, I'm relatively healthy, and my bill, I scoff at my bills. So I can imagine me being sick and seeing and having to go see the doctor every 1 to 2 months and get a bill. So I can imagine how that can be. So it can be expensive if you don't take care of yourself.
I got a question for you, Dwayne.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts about fasting, say 1 or 2 days a week?
So it depends on your intent.
Yeah.
But but there's no real benefit to fasting as far as long-term lifestyle changes,
Does it
unless
not?
you have an intent.
Okay.
So so if you eat a bunch of food and then you fast a couple of days and you may lose weight, but you have to. It's all about
Would you
balance.
wait?
Yeah, with your weight and what you eat. So some people fast and may be for more for mental um,
Yeah.
meditation reasons, but fasting in general, because I know that's a new fad. They have this thing called intermittent fasting, which is a new fad, but it's not recommended unless you have a good balance of food. Was if you intermittently fast, you can lose a lot of muscle weight because you don't have any protein and stuff. So there's certain guidelines which I don't get into because it's too technical that you
Okay.
must do if you're going to do any type of fasting because even though you lose weight, you can unhealthily lose weight. You can lose all your muscle instead of losing the fat.
Gotcha.
You have to kind of balance it out and have a particular reason why you're going to do fasting. But fasting in general, I want to recommend in the long term, unless you have a specific and tuned in plan while you're fasting. So
Gotcha.
basically, generally having this a healthy lifestyle, watching what you eat, balance. We use the term macros, carbs, fats, sugars. Watching your macros accordingly, so you can have a healthy lifestyle and adjusting your calories if you want to lose weight.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay. Now you've given us all of this information.
Hmm.
Tell us, how do you keep yourself healthy?
So I eat a well balanced diet, I'm not endorsing any particular diet. I do a keto diet, so because that's what I used to lose a bunch of weight. So I can, and the thing I like about it is because I can eat only can eat. It allows me to eat twice a day. Like I said, I lost 50 pounds in that diet. Also allows me, since I started it, I've been eating more whole foods. So I don't go to the restaurants as much or fast food. That's when I actually started cooking more and eating whole foods like vegetables, meats, um, berries, stuff like that. So I've been eating more whole foods. And also, I go to the doctor on a regular basis. So I just actually been to the doctor a couple of weeks ago, and I actually have an appointment next week with my cardiologist, and I saw my nephrologist 2 weeks ago. And every time I go, I have a clean bill of health, but I still go. I can easily say, no, I don't need to go. But I just go anyway so they can say you're healthy because I have high cholesterol. I have elevated kidney levels, which is normal for me because I work out. So I get checked every 6 months. I go to the doctor, even though I don't have any symptoms. I get my blood pressure checked, check for diabetes, check for any cancer. I even went to my dermatologist because my sister passed away from cancer, and my father, he passed away from COVID, but he also had cancer as well. So I had got screening for that at the dermatologist. So because of my family history, you should get screening. Also, I exercise about 4 to 5 times a week. So I keep up a regular, consistent exercise schedule. Not just for physical health, but mental health, because people forget about their mental health. So just as your
Mm-hmm.
physical health is helping, mental health, you need to, and I need to work on my mental health as far as getting away and keeping myself busy. But I do stuff that brings pleasure to help me from a mental health standpoint as well. So take care of your physical and spiritual health. Because like I said, having a relationship with God will help give you a positive attitude in general. Because like I said, you can't stop stress, but you can stop the way you respond to stress. So coping is a very
I
important part
like
of life.
that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like
So,
that. And it's funny that you mentioned the mental health
mhm,
because with the mental health, I think a lot of times it goes hand in hand. I've
mhm.
known a couple of people who would eat when they get stressed out.
Yeah.
They never drunk alcohol, they never smoked cigarette or anything, but they would sit there, they would do the ice creams, the cookies, the all the bad stuff for you
Mhm,
that we would call comfort food. So
mhm.
mental health, I believe, plays a big part in it also
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
when it comes
about
down to depression. Huh?
that consciousness. I mean, once that shift in consciousness happen, it'll trigger everything. I mean, that shift in consciousness, I like to think is more spiritual than anything. But once
Mhm,
that happens, everything else kind of trickles behind, falls into place. People start eating better. People
mhm,
start the mental health. Their thoughts will be more clear, more clarified about what to look for and things to not worry about. I'm gonna say not worry about,
mhm,
not get stressed about because the cortisone levels and things like that. But it's a lot of stress in America. It's a lot of stress, especially now being black in America with all the things that are going on. So a lot of mental health people are hopeless for lack of better words in a lot of
mhm,
instances. So that hopelessness I think leads to a lot of like the depression or eating bad or just eating whatever and not really caring about it. And
mhm,
it's that shift that has to happen where people have to know that they're worthy of living a
mhm.
beautiful and healthy life, I think.
Yeah. And networking with friends was your friends, family, are your biggest supporters. So having a great network of friends help build you up, and they understand when you're down, they lift you up. Like I said, I went through a lot in the past 2 years with the passing of my sister and passing of my father due to COVID, and it wasn't for my friends and family lifting me up.
Sorry to
And then
hear
I
that.
was going to school as well, so it wasn't for them because my mental health was threatened once that happened, and like how I'm going to get to school. And I was also uh, a professor, so I was working 2 jobs trying to get to school, and all this stuff was happening. So my mental health was at odds, and it wasn't for my spirituality, my friends to help me get through all this stuff. I would have been lost. So yes.
Yeah, definitely. To
And it's funny.
Well, just say
It's,
we
it's
have.
funny that you said that. First, I'm sorry about your dad and your sister,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
but to see you sit here as a black man
Mm-hmm.
and being able to say that, that's another issue that we have in our community because a lot of our black men don't believe that depression is real. They don't
Mm-hmm.
believe that the mental issues that they have are real, and we as a society, I think, has built that in them as,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're a man, you're supposed to be strong, you're not supposed to have
Mm-hmm.
feelings, you're not supposed to cry. And the mental health plays a big part in a lot of the things that our bodies are dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Julie, I just wanted to bring this out. We were talking about that. She had a great idea about getting back to the old ways. We're home and well, Renee, Daddy always grew a garden every year, so um,
Mm-hmm.
we had collard greens, mustards, carrot, and he'd be. If we wanted something to eat, go in there and get a carrot, get a cucumber,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But what she said, when children see things grow, I remember when my son, it didn't grow because of apple seeds, but we were trying to plant an apple tree. He was so excited, just he wanted to see it every day if it started.
Mm-hmm.
But then when his granddad planted the mango tree down in Florida and it started growing and producing mangoes and the orange trees, they were really excited to see that, you know. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
thank you for that, Julia. Really appreciate that.
And she's right. And as I mentioned before, that's the purpose of these books. The one with Daddy's Home ended with them going to counseling, but they also started this community garden.
Mm,
And the book that I'm writing now, the garden has come to manifestation. And they talk about how they're going to go down to Old Man's Johnson store and they're going to set up this vegetable stand. And Grandma Polly is explaining to them, how we need to get back to canning this stuff because the stores, the manufacturers put so much preservative and stuff into these things. So these are the real purpose behind my books is bringing awareness.
mm.
And Dwayne, we definitely got to talk some more because the one after this one, yeah, you're gonna help me write that
All right. No problem. No problem.
Awesome. Also,
one. Yeah,
Michelle,
because we were bored it.
a lot of people are that are watching right now are commenting on that. They miss the days of picking fresh fruit and berries and things that their grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, um, a lot of them are saying this right now,
I see it.
and that's a telltale sign that we need to actually move back in that direction. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I said I was going to do it, but never got around to it. But I have the know-how and everything, so I think I'm gonna really make it happen.
Great. You can work along with me and a group of kids.
Yeah, I'd be honored. We could do that
Yeah,
because I really think
introduce them to that.
we have to
I
start.
swore up and down I would never shell another butter bean or green beans, but I think I'm ready to go back to
I think starting with these as young as we can get them, the younger generations. I mean, it's a truth that you see. I'm just using this as an example, okay? But
it.
like with the gangs, when they recruiting them when they're young, and how they're feeling like they're part of something, and it's not necessarily the best thing in the world to be a part of, but we can have that kind of mindset and do that with promoting gardens, just creating a whole nother level of consciousness before they're bombarded with all these other ideologies of even some of our ideologies about what life should be.
Yeah.
That would be paramount, I
And
think.
that's my purpose. So
Yes.
that's where we're
Yeah.
heading.
So we definitely
But
have to figure out ways to make that happen.
yes,
Okay.
definitely. And that's really all the questions I have. If nobody else has
Yeah,
anything,
man, I got a lot.
well, go
Dwayne, Dwayne, you got like a year or so?
ahead.
You got to call me.
I mean,
I'll have
can
to
you
answer a
rein
few
it
more
in a little
questions. That's
bit?
about
I
it.
know, I
Rein it
know.
in a little bit.
Okay, 30 days, man. 30 days. No, as far as like what you're saying about the keto, you eat twice a
Mhm.
day. You really intrigued me with that because I was reading something. Um, this is a spiritual book way back, way thousands of years ago, and they were just eating at noon and at sunset. Basically, is that those are times when you eat particularly?
No, I usually eat breakfast and then I eat like a early or late, early or late, late or late lunch or early dinner. And the reason why I can eat twice a day because the concept of keto diet is that you utilize fat for energy versus carbohydrates.
Gotcha.
Carbohydrates burn up quicker, fat can last longer. So I'm usually not hungry until later in the day. So if I eat a big breakfast and the fat keeps me going, it actually was before when I wasn't on keto, I actually had to eat before I worked out. But now I don't even have to eat before I work out. My energy
Oh, awesome.
is sustained throughout. So it sustains since I'm metabolizing fat instead of carbs, my energy is sustained longer.
Okay.
That's why I can eat twice a day because
Interesting.
I don't get as hungry. That's all.
I do notice I try some things and I keep like a mental journal. I kept
Mhm.
a physical journal, but now I've got to the point where I can keep it mentally what I wanted to focus on. I was I noticed when I would work out how I used to feel, but when I would take like a tablespoon or a teaspoon of black seed oil, because
Mhm.
I can get through the workout like that.
Mhm.
It was like wow, it really is something to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, that fat. I'm gonna yeah, I'm gonna be investigating a little more on that.
Mhm. Yeah, I would like I said, for me, it's not for everyone. You have
Yeah,
to really investigate and learn, and some certain disease processes may not be suitable for, but works for me. And like I said, I've been on it for 4 years. Lost a lot of weight, and actually maintained a lot of weight, maintained the weight.
that you wanted
Um,
to be at.
yeah.
Yeah, I could stand to lose about 50 now. See them
Mhm.
cheeks.
I have, Dwayne, do you have, I know you have all this knowledge and you're teaching, and do you have anything that you have put together as far as health issues that if not the issues, but the healthy eatings and stuff, if someone was to reach out to you and say, hey, can you help me with this diet, or do you have something that I can look over and see that will this apply to me or this can help me? Do you
So
have anything like
I don't have anything in template because everything is in each diet is individualized. So
that?
I always can help somebody, but I would have to ask them specific questions. One of the questions is, what's your goal? Like, do you want to lose weight? Do you want to gain muscle? Um, how much weight do you want to lose? What's your schedule like? So there's certain variables that I would need to order to help someone if they want to live a healthy lifestyle. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend keto to everyone, so it wouldn't be a suggestion to them. It would be based on their um, their desires or what their likes are and what's their schedule and how they perceive food and what's their weaknesses and how often can they get to the gym. So it depends. Like I say, each diet plan to be catered individually because they have these diet plans all over and they only do one thing for each person. Because you may just want to slim up or just be more physical fit. So there's a different approach to depend on each person's goals or lifestyle.
Gotcha.
That's cool. Y'all heard him. Y'all out there
Mhm.
looking
Yeah, because
at
we
your
have a
feedback.
question that says, "Can you
Go
start the
ahead.
keto diet with diabetes?"
Yeah, so you can start a keto diet with diabetes. Actually, that's one of the things that helps eliminate the need for certain medicines. Um, I would always consult with your doctor first. I wouldn't say, "Hey, you got diabetes, start keto."
Right,
Because
right.
there's certain medicines that you may be on, and you will not realize that's contraindicated in keto, which is what it does to your. Because certain medicines act on your liver, and then it may be counterintuitive to start keto if you're on a medicine that helps. that utilizes the liver. Because the liver is the biggest part of your body that metabolizes. So there's certain
Mm-hmm.
medicines that target that liver to help you produce less sugar. So if you have a medicine like that, that will be counterintuitive. But in general, if you're diabetic, you can do keto, which actually lowers your triglyceride levels and stuff like that. So yeah, it would help a lot.
That would include your HDL levels too.
Yeah, HDL
Yeah.
level increases. The HDL level is a good level, and also your fasting glucose. I meant to say your fasting glucose because I've tested my fasting glucose and it was 60. So usually when it's around 60, you're in good shape from a um, diabetic standpoint.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Great information.
that's good to know. That's all I have.
Mhm.
I just appreciate you coming out and doing this because it's a much needed thing in our community, and
Mhm.
we just need to get it out there the best way in any way we can.
Yeah, thank
Definitely.
you for having me. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. I like
Yeah.
doing
I
stuff like this.
appreciate you. I was so happy when you said yes. I was like,
And definitely, you're welcome to come back anytime, man. And
yes,
anything that you feel is paramount to share that people need to hear, we'd be more than honored, humbly
yes,
honored to have you back.
Okay, that'll be
Dr.
good.
Dwayne is in the house.
yes. We appreciate you so much.
No problem. My pleasure. My pleasure.
And thanks
All
for
right.
coming. Give the family my love.
I will. I will. I will.
And
Yeah.
real quick, Renee,
Mhm.
Dr. Dwayne, hang on one second, okay?
Mhm.
Just gonna promote her show right quick. Just
Oh,
want everybody to know that Renee and Dr. Dwayne sharing his expertise and knowledge with us. We truly appreciate him taking time out of his day, and we thank you, Facebook, for joining us. We appreciate all the comments and all the questions that you have for Dr. Wayne, and I hope it was informative for you guys as it was for me and my sister, Grandma Polly.
yes. And now, next week, join us. We're having Tawana Lance. She's a nurse practitioner, and she's coming in, and we're going to go through the same process, but she's going to talk about health in the Black women's community.
All right. All
Yes.
right. That's what's up. Well, we love you guys. Thank you for
Love you
joining us
guys.
tonight. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Dr. Dwayne, you were amazing. Thank you for your time, your
Thank you. Thank
expertise,
you.
your wisdom.
And anytime you want to come back, you're welcome. And if you notice, we hadn't been pronouncing your last name because we get mixed up with
Aline,
that.
Dr. Dwayne Alleyne. Right? Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. All right.
All
All
right.
right,
Take care,
everybody.
guys. Love
Love
you
you.
all.
Here come the big rig kids, roll with the big rig kids. Let Sapphire the truck take you to such amazing places with the big rig kids. Those helpful big rig kids. See how they give and grow and get to know amazing things. Learn with the big rig kids, and you'll see how it is to have adventure days and hang and play with all your friends. Because the big rig kids know what it is to live a most exciting and inviting life is positive. Sapphire with the voice of wisdom keeps the story rolling, and by golly, Grandma Polly drives them all to where they're going. Hop on in, everybody. Let's go! Caden, he's the leader of the crew. He's smart and brave and true. Sasha, Caden's twin, she cares a lot but can be stubborn too. Caden loves a good book too. And then Sasha, she's a regular computer guru. These are the big rig kids. Roll with the big rig kids. Let Sapphire the truck take you to such amazing places with the big rig kids. Those helpful big rig kids. See how they give and grow and get to know amazing things. Now Maria can be rude and bossy, braces on her legs and knees, but it's not fun and hard to run with a disability.